Welcome to Real Talk English Pro, the channel where you learn real English through real conversations. Every week, two people talk about something that actually matters, and you learn by listening. If this is your first time here, welcome. You are going to enjoy this. If you are a returning listener, welcome back. Really glad you are here. Today's conversation is about something that affects all of us, but most of us never talk about it openly. Mental health. Let's get into it. Alex and Sarah have been friends for a long time. Sarah has noticed over the past few weeks that something is off with Alex. Tonight, she decides to say something. Here we go. Here, tea.
Thanks.
Can I say something?
That is never a good opening.
You have not been yourself lately, and I do not mean that in a critical way. I mean, you seem tired, not just physically tired, something else. And I wanted to check in properly rather than just pretending I have not noticed.
I am fine.
You do not have to be fine with me. You know that.
I know.
So, what is actually going on?
I do not even know where to start or how to describe it. It is not like anything specific has gone wrong. Nothing dramatic has happened. I just feel off, like something is slightly out of alignment and I cannot work out what it is or how to fix it.
How long has it been like this?
A few months, maybe longer. I kept thinking it would pass on its own, that I just needed a good night's sleep or a quiet weekend, but it does not really lift. I wake up tired. I go through the day on autopilot. I come home and I do not want to do anything. Even things I used to enjoy feel like effort.
That sounds like more than just tiredness.
I think it is. I have been reading about burnout, and a lot of what I read describes exactly what I feel. The exhaustion that does not go away with rest. The feeling of being detached from things. Going through the motions. Not caring about things you used to care about.
Burnout is real, and it creeps up on you. You do not notice it happening, and then one day, you realize you have been running on empty for months, and you have nothing left. When did you last take any proper time off?
I mentioned this before. I have not taken real leave in over a year. I keep rolling it over.
Alex.
I know. It is partly the job, but it is also partly me. I find it genuinely difficult to switch off. Even when I am not working, I am thinking about work, checking my phone, running things over in my head. I cannot seem to fully disconnect even when I want to.
Is that a new thing, or has it always been like that?
It has gotten worse. I think it started gradually and I just did not notice until it became the norm. Now I cannot remember the last time I felt genuinely relaxed, like properly at ease, not just distracted, actually relaxed.
And is it just the work side of things? Or is there more to it?
There is the anxiety side too, which I find harder to talk about because it feels more, I do not know, more personal somehow. The work stuff feels like a practical problem. The anxiety feels more like a character flaw, like I should be able to just get a grip.
It is not a character flaw. You know that, right?
Intellectually, yes. Emotionally, I am not always so sure.
Tell me about the anxiety. What does it actually feel like for you?
It is hard to describe. It is like there is a low-level hum of worry running in the background all the time. Most of the time I can function normally and nobody would notice, but it is always there. And sometimes it gets louder, usually at night. I will be lying in bed and my mind just starts going, replaying conversations, worrying about things that have not happened, going over every possible way something could go wrong. And then I cannot sleep. And then I am more tired the next day. And then everything feels harder. And then I worry more. It is a cycle.
The 3 a.m. spiral.
Is that what it is called?
It is what I call it. I have been there. Not as often as I used to be, but I know exactly what you are describing. Your brain picks up a thread at the worst possible time and just pulls at it. And the more you try to stop it, the more it seems to go.
Exactly. And the frustrating thing is that in the morning, most of the things I was worrying about seem completely manageable. But in the middle of the night, they feel enormous, unsolvable.
That is what anxiety does. It distorts things. It takes a manageable problem and makes it feel catastrophic. And it is especially good at doing that when you are tired and alone in the dark.
Have you ever talked to anyone about it? Like professionally?
I did, a few years ago. I went through a period that was quite dark, and I finally admitted to myself that I could not think my way out of it on my own. I saw a therapist for about 8 months, and it genuinely helped. Not in a dramatic way. It was not like a switch flipped, but over time I started to understand the patterns, where the anxiety came from, what triggered it, how to recognize it when it started rather than only realizing after I was already in the middle of it.
I have thought about therapy, but I keep putting it off. I tell myself I am not bad enough. Like there are people with real problems and I am just stressed. It feels self indulgent.
That is one of the most common reasons people do not go, and it is also one of the least logical. You would not say, "I am not sick enough to see a doctor," about a physical symptom that had been bothering you for months. Mental health is the same. You do not have to be in crisis to deserve support.
I know that is true. It is just harder to apply to yourself.
Because we are taught to push through, especially with anything emotional. There is still so much stigma around mental health, even now, even among people who would never consciously judge someone else for struggling. We internalize it. We think, other people can seek help, but I should be able to handle this myself.
That is exactly it. And the irony is that I would never think less of a friend for going to therapy. I would think more of them. But applying that same logic to myself feels completely different.
I think that is because we hold ourselves to a standard we would never apply to anyone we care about. We give everyone else compassion, and we give ourselves criticism.
That is a very uncomfortable observation.
Sorry.
No, it is right. I can see it clearly when you say it. I just do not know how to actually change it.
You do not have to figure out how to change everything tonight. But can I ask you something? Is there one thing, just one, that you think would help? Not fix everything, just help a little, right now.
Sleep. Honestly, if I could just sleep properly for a week, I think everything would feel more manageable. The anxiety is so much worse when I am exhausted. It is like my defenses are down and everything gets in.
Then let's start there. Not with the big questions about therapy and burnout and everything else. Just sleep. What is stopping you from sleeping?
My phone, mostly. I know that sounds pathetic, but I check it right before I sleep and first thing when I wake up. And I think the blue light is messing with my sleep. And the last thing I read before bed is usually something stressful, a work email or the news. And then my brain cannot settle.
That is not pathetic. That is just a habit. And habits can be changed. It does not have to be dramatic. Just phone out of the bedroom for 1 week. See what happens.
That fills me with anxiety, which I recognize is ironic.
The things that are hardest to give up are usually the things that are doing the most damage. Not always, but often.
Can I ask you something?
Of course.
How do you talk about this stuff? Like with other people, not with me, because we have always been able to talk, but with people you are not as close to. At work, for example, do you ever tell people at work that you have anxiety?
Some people, not everyone. I think it depends on the person and the relationship. There are colleagues I trust enough to be honest with, and there are others where I would keep it more general. I would say I am going through a difficult period, or that I have been struggling with stress. That feels safer than the word anxiety, because there is less risk of being misunderstood or treated differently.
That is something I think about. Whether saying the word anxiety changes how people see you, whether they start treating you as fragile or unreliable.
That fear is real. And I think it is one of the reasons mental health conversations are still so hard, because the stakes feel high. You are not just sharing something personal. You are potentially changing how someone sees you professionally or socially. And you cannot unsay it once it is out there.
So how do you decide when it is safe to say something and when it is not?
I think about 3 things. Do I trust this person? Have they shown me that they handle sensitive information with care? And do I actually need to tell them? Is it relevant to our relationship or our work together? If the answer to all 3 is yes, I feel more comfortable being open. If any of them is uncertain, I keep it more general.
That is a useful framework, actually. More useful than just deciding based on how I feel in the moment, which is usually either too open because I am exhausted or completely closed because I am protecting myself.
All or nothing.
Exactly. I am either fine or I am telling someone everything. There is no middle ground.
Finding that middle ground is actually one of the things therapy helped me with. Learning how to share enough to feel less alone, without feeling like I had overshared and exposed myself. It is a skill, and like any skill, it gets easier with practice.
I think I am going to book an appointment, an initial one at least, just to see.
That is a really good decision. And you do not have to commit to anything after the first session. Just go and see how it feels.
And the phone out of the bedroom, starting tonight.
I will believe it when I see it.
You always say that.
Because you always say things and then check your phone 5 minutes later.
Fair. Thank you for noticing and for saying something. A lot of people would have just left it.
You would have done the same for me. You have done the same for me.
I suppose I have.
Now let's look at what you can take from today's conversation. We have got 3 things for you: key phrases, vocabulary words, and phrasal verbs. Let's go through them one by one. First, the key phrases. These are natural expressions you can use in real conversations. Something is off. This means something feels wrong, but you cannot explain exactly what. Example: I do not know what it is. Something just feels off. The 3 a.m. spiral. This is when your mind races with anxious thoughts late at night and you cannot stop it. Example: I had a terrible 3 a.m. spiral last night and barely slept. A difficult period. A stretch of time when things have been hard. Example: I have been going through a difficult period lately. Things are slowly getting better. Sit with it. Accept an uncomfortable feeling instead of trying to fix it immediately. Example: the anxiety will come. Just sit with it. It passes. Now, some important vocabulary from today's conversation. These are individual words that are very useful for talking about mental health. Burnout. Complete physical and mental exhaustion caused by long periods of stress or overwork. Example: she did not quit because she wanted to. She was suffering from burnout. Detached. Feeling disconnected from your emotions, your work, or the people around you. Example: he was present but detached, like he was watching his own life from a distance. Autopilot. Doing things automatically without thinking or feeling engaged. Example: I went through the whole week on autopilot. I cannot even remember most of it. Stigma. Negative attitudes or judgment that society places on something. Example: there is still a lot of stigma around mental health, especially in the workplace. And finally, phrasal verbs. These are 2 or 3 word verbs that native speakers use all the time. They can be tricky, so listen carefully. Switch off. To stop thinking about work or stress and properly relax. Example: I find it impossible to switch off even at weekends. My brain just keeps going. Open up. To start talking about your feelings honestly, usually after keeping them inside. Example: it took him a long time to open up about what he was going through, but once he did, things got easier. Work through. To deal with a difficult feeling or problem over time. Example: she went to therapy to work through what had happened. It took time, but it helped. That is everything for today. Tell me in the comments, do you find it easy to talk about how you really feel? Or is it something you keep to yourself? And if you are going through a difficult period right now, I hope today's conversation helped even a little. You are not alone. If you enjoyed this one, you might also like our video on how to say no without feeling guilty. A lot of the same feelings come up: people-pleasing, guilt, not wanting to burden others. The link is on screen right now. And subscribe if you have not already. New conversation every week. See you around. Thanks for watching.